song to set me free. Nobody writes them like they used to, so it may as well be me. Here on my own now after hours, here on my own now on a bus. Think of it this way, you could either be successful or be us, without winning smiles and
Alright boys, welcome back to a brand new video. It is currently like 5:30 a.m. and today I'm going to be showing you guys how I maximize my energy levels to not feel tired during the day, have sluggishness, have brain fog as an athlete that trains for running and bodybuilding. So on most days I train twice a day, and if most people trained the way that I did, like this morning I'm running 25 kilometers and lifting weights in the afternoon, they would feel tired for the rest of the day. So that's why I'll be showing you guys how I manage that as an athlete while maximizing productivity, keeping stable energy levels during the day, and have mental clarity. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. I post weekly, and without further ado, let's get ready for today's 25-kilometer long run while I give you guys tips along my day so that you can avoid fatigue during your day. Let's get it, boys. Alright boys, so now we're here at the park about to start this 25-kilometer long run, and yeah, I'm ready. Today is pretty warm here in Brazil, beautiful weather, 6 a.m. so let's freaking get after it, boys. This is gonna generate normally a lot of fatigue because we're gonna run for freaking 2.5 hours, but I have my little tricks and tips to actually do this and not destroy my mental clarity for the rest of the day. I have some tricks to avoid fatigue, and you guys are gonna see. I'm gonna show you guys after. Alright boys, so just finished up the 25-kilometer run. It was freaking amazing. 2 hours and 30 minutes, man. Special shout out to my boy Nathan French. I meant to say this because, man, he is gonna run 100 miles in like 3 fucking days from now. He's 3 days out from 100 miles, and so super shout out to him. He's a super inspiration of mine. Go check his channel out. I've mentioned him in the channel before. But yeah, discipline over freedom. 25 kilometers, boys. It wasn't easy, but now we're gonna recover, and I'm gonna show you guys the things I do to not accumulate fatigue and still be able to be productive during my day. Okay, so we finished up the run, boys, and now it's time to eat. So 4 eggs, I'm gonna make some toast as well, drinking some coconut water. And what I meant to say during the run, and I'm not sure if I actually said it properly, is that one of the main things as an athlete, if you want to stay productive during the day after working out, is fueling. So like one thing that I used to do, like I just ran freaking 25 kilometers, man. This generates a lot of fatigue. I ran for 2.5 hours. So what I have to do to counter that is to actually fuel very properly so that my body doesn't stay depleted, because because if your body stays depleted, that's gonna kick in, like a lot of fatigue is gonna kick in, your brain is gonna feel slow. And so one thing that I've said to you guys many times is that like exercising is actually cognitive enhancing. Like if you do 30 minutes of working out, it's gonna be very good for your mind. It's literally cognitive enhancing. However, if you extrapolate that too much, if you exaggerate on that and do like I did 2.5 hours of running, it's gonna generate the opposite of what you want. You're gonna accumulate a lot of fatigue. So what you do is you actually have a really good nutrition to counter that. Not only like the total of your nutrition, because like in bodybuilding sakes, they talk a lot about like, oh, you actually hitting your protein for the day and whatever, so on. When you're running, it's also very important that you have good meal timing. So during your runs, actually fueling so that you don't stay depleted at all at any point of the day, because that's gonna destroy you. That's what's gonna make you feel sluggish. Because like one big mistake that I used to make in the past that actually made me think that like, oh, running is super terrible for like your mental health or super terrible for if you want to be productive during the day, was that like when I was training for a marathon, and on some days I was running like 30 kilometers, but I would literally raw dog it and like not bring any gels, not even drink freaking water during my 30K run, man. So afterwards, I was literally destroyed and I couldn't focus like for anything in the world after that run. So I literally made one of the biggest mistakes if you want to stay productive, if you want to have mental clarity and focus during the day, if you're fatiguing yourself a lot with running and lifting or whatever sport. So I make sure to have a proper hydration. So I'm drinking some coconut water here, which is nature's electrolyte. I was eating carb gels every 45 minutes in the run, so around every 5 miles. And now I'm refueling back with some protein, which is gonna aid with like the recovery of repairing my muscle and also maximizing my muscle protein synthesis. So yeah, let's eat. Food feels so much better after running a lot, man. You guys have no idea. Alright boys, so we drank a little tea, we worked for a little bit, and now it's time for me to tell you guys the actual things that I do to be able to have mental clarity while training hard twice in a day. So the first point has to do with what we talked about in the start of the video, which is the diet itself. So we've talked about fueling and the importance of never feeling depleted, because this is going to affect you in terms of feeling tired, in terms of having brain fog. But in general terms, something that can kill your mental clarity even more is if you have a bad diet. So a lot of people don't realize this, but your diet isn't something that just affects you physically. So people think that your diet is something that either makes you gain weight or lose weight, but your diet actually affects you a lot more mentally than you think. It affects your cognition. It's one of these things that makes the biggest impact on your energy levels. So there are a few things that I try to avoid in my own diet if I want to maximize my brain function and my energy levels. And this goes to the other extreme, which is overeating, something I used to do a lot when I was trying to bulk up. I remember I would like eat a very big meal and then my stomach would try to digest that food, so all my blood went to my stomach, and that would make me feel sleepy. It would make me feel sluggish after eating a big meal. So the first problem we have has to do with the quantity of food that we're eating. We don't want to eat too much nor too little. And the second problem has to do with the quality of the foods that we're eating. So imagine if I were to eat ice cream before going out for my morning run. So technically it is carbs, right? Like, oh, I could eat ice cream instead of my morning banana, you know, before going out for my morning run. But the problem is the source, like the quality of that food is horrible, and also because it has a lot of sugar, it's gonna spike my insulin, leaving me with low energy levels and sluggishness as well. So the two main things you want to look out for if you're trying to prioritize your mental clarity on a diet is to pay attention to the quantity and the quality of foods that you're eating, because this is what's really going to impact your cognition and your ability to focus and to be productive during the day when you're not training. Oh, Lorenzo, so are are you telling me that you should never eat something with sugar, or that you should never bulk or never cut? No, that's not at all what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to educate you guys that these things have an impact on your mental clarity. However, there are things that you can do if you want to counter that. So for example, if I want to eat something with sugar that I know is going to impact my cognition, I leave it for nighttime where I've already finished all my work, so I don't require mental clarity anymore. Or if I want to bulk to gain muscle and I know this is going to have an impact on my cognition, instead of going on a very aggressive bulk, I go in a moderate bulk of like maybe 400 calories to minimize that drop in mental clarity. Same thing with a cut. I just avoid a very aggressive cut. And that's a skill that I want to teach you guys here in the channel. And a lot of times they don't weigh out the pros and cons that might affect other areas of their lives. So in many cases, for example, I think it's not practical for someone to go on a 1,000-calorie bulk instead of going on a 500-calorie bulk, because they need to work, they need to be able to focus and to think clearly during their work. So you shouldn't blindly follow some advice just because it's the optimal way of doing things. You have to actually weigh out the pros and cons and see what practices are worth it for you. This is learning to be a critical thinker, because we're not in this controlled environment where if we change or optimize one aspect of your life, it won't interfere in other aspects. So doing things optimally is something that I constantly try to break here in the channel. Do 80% of things right. Think critically which practices are worth it for you to do and which practices just doesn't make sense for you to do. In my case, I'm okay with getting 80% of the results just by going on a moderate bulk instead of a high, like aggressive bulk, because it's more valuable for me to maintain my mental clarity than it is to get just like small additional gains. If you want to know more about how I structure my diet exactly, literally for this purpose of mental clarity, I made a video on that. You can check it out here. Now moving on to the second point of what I do to maintain good energy levels, it's managing recovery. And what I mean by that is basically having good sleep and also managing fatigue through your training strategy. And so starting with sleep, I think sleep is the whole foundation of maintaining stable energy levels, because if you have horrible sleep, it's going to be very hard for you to have stable energy levels during the day. It's going to fluctuate, right? Some moments you're going to feel more energized, other moments you're going to feel sleepy, you're going to feel tired. We've all experienced that, having to take an afternoon nap or something. And the standard advice that you hear out there is for you to aim for 8 hours of sleep. And I think that's a good start, but I think that's way too simplistic in most cases, because a lot of people that say that, oh, you should get 8 hours of sleep, first of all, they don't explain how you get those 8 hours of sleep, because a lot of people, for example, have trouble with falling asleep, and then they also never talk about the quality of sleep that you're getting, which in my opinion is even more important than the time that you spend asleep. So having a good night detoxing routine, which I've talked about a million times here in the channel, you can check out a video on that I made. And when you prioritize the quality of your sleep, so like intentionally trying to improve your sleep, making the quality of your sleep better, I think you can even get away with less sleep, to be honest. That's not some hardcore, stupid, oh, never sleep, work hard mentality stuff. It's because you prioritize your sleep so much that you can get away with sleeping a bit less. How dare I say you sleep for 7 hours? How dare I say maybe 6 hours and a half? You'd be surprised how much the quality of your sleep actually influences in your energy levels through the day. Not just spending 8 hours on the bed, like kind of awake, but not really sleeping, you know? And now the last point that I want to make in terms of me maximizing my energy levels during the day, even while training twice a day, has to do with how I structure my training itself. And so there are things that you can do in terms of the structure of your training itself to minimize systemic fatigue, to minimize mental fatigue generated from training. So what better way than to talk about this while we work out? Let's go to the gym, boys. Alright, boys, so as you can see, we're here at the freaking home gym, about to start a back, biceps, and hamstring workout. And the last point that I wanted to make in this video, in terms of you minimizing that mental fatigue generated from training twice a day, because as you guys can see, this is my second workout of the day, and this generates a lot of mental fatigue after my training. And the last point that I want to make in terms of how you can minimize that fatigue is the actual training itself. It's how you set up your training in a way that you don't generate unwanted mental fatigue. Things like minimizing your systemic fatigue through a good exercise selection, or like minimizing CNS fatigue, central nervous system fatigue, or things like controlling your volume that also creates excessive fatigue. All things you can control during your training, and I'm gonna enter with a voiceover right now to explain all the things I do and how you can do it too.
Noise was my first ever feeling. That's how it's been all around me. I'm all lost in the supermarket. I can no longer shop happily. I came in here for a special offer, a guaranteed personality. I'm all tuned in, I see all the programs, I save coupons, packets of tea. I've got my giant hit discotheque album. I empty a bottle, I feel a bit free. Kids in halls and the pipes in the walls. Green noises company. Long distance callers make long distance calls. And the silence makes me lonely. I'm lost in the supermarket. I can no longer shop happily. I came in here for the special offer, a guaranteed personality. It's not here. Disappear.
Okay, so while you guys see me working out here, I want to talk about some of the strategies that I implement in my training so that I can minimize some of the mental fatigue that I accumulate from training itself. So I typically have my second workout in the afternoon. As you guys can see in the video, it's already dark. And the reason for that is because all the mental fatigue that I might accumulate from this workout doesn't really have that much impact on me because I've already worked during the entirety of the day. And so by the time I work out, all the mental fatigue that I accumulate doesn't matter because I've already finished up all my work that I have for the day, and then it's nighttime, I have my dinner and then go to sleep. I used to work out after having my lunch, and then after my workout I would have another block of work, but I realized that this block of work would actually be a lot less productive just because I accumulated a bit of mental fatigue after having my second workout of the day. So that's something you can play with, the timing of your workouts itself. I know some people like to work out in the morning. This actually gives them mental clarity. It helps them out to work better. But in my case, since I train twice a day, I generate a lot of fatigue. So I like working out like my second workout of the day. I like doing it closer to nighttime where I've already finished all my work. The second thing I do is also controlling the fatigue that I generate from the workout itself. So generally, I try to minimize the systemic fatigue that I generate from my workouts. So things like switching up on my exercise selection for a better stimulus to fatigue ratio, or SFR. What this means is I try to switch up exercises that are very fatiguing for like less stimulus. So for example, a deadlift. A deadlift creates a very high fatigue, and it also has a pretty high stimulus, but I mean, it creates a lot of fatigue for something that you can switch out. So for example, if I want to train my hamstrings, instead of doing a deadlift, I can do an RDL, which creates a bit less systemic fatigue, but I get more benefits out of that. Another thing worth considering is axial loading, for example. So when you do squats, you actually put a lot of load on your back. So your spine gets compressed, and what this does, it creates a lot of unwanted systemic fatigue. So what you can do, for example, is switch up squats and do some kind of belt squat, for example, or some kind of hack squat where the weights are to your side, not to your back, because then you're again creating axial loading. But anytime you put a lot of weight on your spine, like you compress your spine, this is going to generate a lot of systemic fatigue and not the local fatigue that you want on your muscles. And this is important, right? Because it fatigues a lot of your body, but it also fatigues you a lot mentally as well. Like, I'm sure you've had a leg day, and then when you're home, like, you're totally cooked. You can't even like sit down and think because your CNS is fatigued, like you're completely destroyed. So minimizing systemic fatigue inside of my workouts itself, so inside my exercise selection, switching up for exercises that create less of a systemic fatigue is very important, since I'm training twice a day and I'm still trying to focus focus during the day. And in terms of running, for example, the way I approach progressing in running is not progressing too much. So I progress around 10% each week, and I'm gonna start to doing deloads also, because like right now I'm running around 70 kilometers a week. So by not progressing that much and giving me time for my body to adapt to that volume also helps in not creating unwanted systemic fatigue. Like if I wanted to progress too much too fast in running, I would probably get injured. But not only that, I would also not let enough time for my body to adapt to that training, and I would generate too much fatigue. I wouldn't be able to focus during the day, and that would all impact my cognition. I also go to the gym 4 days a week as opposed to like going 6 days a week when I used to go to the gym, and I train for around 1.5 hours. I used to train for 2.5 hours. I didn't know how to train, and nowadays I stick to more of like a moderate amount of volume, not high volume, to also not fatigue myself too much. And those are all general things that you can do also if you don't want to create unwanted systemic fatigue on your body, like basically doing fucking cardio with dumbbells. Shit, I shouldn't have sweared. I think I haven't said a bad word this entire video, but it, I'm gonna get demonetized. And that is it for the video, boys. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you can take something away to apply it to your own workout regimen if you're trying to improve your productivity. And with that being said, I'll see you guys on the next video. Leave a like, comment. New videos every week. I have a big announcement because I started training for a big event. It's still a surprise, but I'm gonna tell you guys really soon. So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next week for another video. Let's get it, boys!